I'm sure you've heard the name curl, or perhaps cURL as some call it, before. It's highly likely that you've used it yourself a few times, even if unintentionally, perhaps by copying and pasting every install script ever made. But have you ever delved deeper? Did you know, for instance, it supports over 30 different protocols? You can send and receive files, notifications, obviously HTTP requests, but these can be tunneled through proxies or a chain of them. It can authenticate, compress, resolve names, heck, this thing can even read emails. This video was initially intended to focus on the history of curl and explore how it became so popular, reaching a point where it's now found on phones, tablets, medical devices, crossing the line of 20 billion installations. However, I soon discovered a whole world of options this tool offers that remain largely hidden. For a tool that first saw the light of day in 1998 and is still going strong, actively developed by over 1,000 contributors, you can be sure there's more to it than meets the eye. It was originally named URL Get, only later adopting the name curl, a client for URLs. Its author, and still the very active lead developer today, is a Swedish developer named Daniel Stenberg. Daniel actually built curl because he was missing a certain functionality with his IRC bot. He then went through a variety of roles, including helping to build Firefox, but today he manages the curl project and serves as the president of the European Open Source Academy. Just last week, Daniel was announced Developer of the Year. It's rare to find developers this dedicated for so long, focused on a single goal. Perhaps on par with Linus Torvalds, only thankfully less blunt.
Look at Microsoft. They're full of shit. And NVIDIA has been the single worst company we've ever dealt with. So NVIDIA...
Curl is accompanied by libcurl, a C library that powers curl but can be ported anywhere. Most importantly, it builds and works identically on every platform you can imagine. Curl is estimated to have over 1 billion users. That's 1 in every 10 people on planet Earth, or as they famously put it, curl is used daily by virtually every internet-using human on the globe. Let's see what it can do. curl.se is the homepage for all your curl needs, downloads, docs, and contributions, and an impressive list of supported protocols and capabilities. You can find the source on GitHub, although the project had existed a decade before GitHub was even conceived. If you do dig enough, however, you'll find commits dated back to 2000, 5 years before Git was gifted to the world, which brings the question of how is this even tracked here? In any case, before taking the deep plunge, we need to talk about the basics, right? And since HTTP Bean seems to have a few rough days, I went with a cute alternative called HTTP Bun to demo a few requests, and another project I always have fun testing with is the No Service, an API for reasons to say no. Okay, so curlexample.com basically gets the HTML page exactly like a web browser would, but prints the return text. Add a -o to add a file name to save the output to. As you can imagine, that's usually more relevant to downloads, but nevertheless, there it is. If you get a simple API response, it makes a little more sense in the terminal, and since I haven't mentioned it, curl with just a domain is exactly the same as explicitly adding get as the request method like so. In recent years, curl has gotten more modern, and --get is a more human-readable option. Curl had this image of another old complicated Unix utility, which made others build and use alternatives that makes post requests or downloading files more approachable, but it definitely shows the team led by Daniel is making improvements, not only adding supported protocols and auth methods, but also to the UX of the utility, which is fantastic. You don't get to see that as much with other tools. Okay, so beyond getting a response, many times we want to debug the server or explore it. I gets you the headers of the response showing the status code and a bunch of other helpful headers like a server, rate limits, framework, etc. Capital I gets you the headers without the response itself, if that's all you're interested in, which is helpful when scripting. And if you want to go all out, V for verbosity gets you everything. Server hops with IPs, handshakes, and timed events from initiation to full response. And just like the request methods got a modern look switch, so did headers. A double hyphen and head does the trick. Now, sometimes you're going to get redirected or moved permanently response. You can tell curl to follow it by adding location, getting you the full list of redirections all the way to a satisfying answer. When downloading files, as I mentioned earlier, I always went with wget, which often wasn't even present on a machine. Curl does a great job with downloading. Capital O saves the file and uses the remote name to save it on disk, so you can too enjoy curl's logo. By the way, curl's logos and symbols have their own page, which also serves sibling projects logos like cURL or cURL for pasting and manipulating URLs, or wcurl, which is made specifically for downloading and comes with more sane defaults like overwriting and resuming downloads, all of which are available in curl, which for me never made sense to use anything else, but it's preferred by many others. Also, there's an annual meetup called curlup for those who are big fans of getting URLs. There's all the slides and videos from past events, some by Daniel himself, and super cool ideas and content. I'm taking a quick break for a word from today's sponsor. Tired of hitting walls with your hosting platform, artificial limits, surprise bills, and juggling 5 different services just to deploy your app? It's time to break free. Meet Sevalla, the all-in-one trickery-free platform as a service from the infrastructure experts at Kinsta. They combine the best features of modern platforms into one seamless experience. With Sevalla, you get unlimited collaborators and unlimited parallel builds. Deploy your apps, databases, and static sites on a global network powered by Google Kubernetes Engine and Cloudflare. There are no fixed plans, just transparent, usage-based pricing. You only pay for what you use. It's the developer experience you love with the enterprise-grade security and performance you need. Stop compromising and start building. Experience the Heroku successor that's built for today's development teams. Visit sevalla.com to deploy your first application for free. That's svalla.com. You also get $50 worth of credit to start and test the platform, so make sure you don't miss that. And now back to the video. Back to our story. When it's time to send a post request, that is when things get annoying for me. You'd have to add a content type application JSON header. Doing so actually led me to finding out that Carapace, my beloved auto-completion utility, supports curl and offers every header I can think of. Once the header is in place, you'd want to add the data. In this instance, a random JSON with a name and a skill sent to HTTP button. We'll talk about ways to improve this and some alternatives to curl later, but something you quickly notice is how raw the responses are. And this is why JQ is paired so well with curl. One gets the thing and the other parses it and queries it. You can pipe curl to JQ just for color coding, or go further and extract a nested field like headers, which you can dig even further and get the user agent inside it. JQ is fantastic for that, especially when building automation and scripting around returned answers from API servers. Now these were all kinda basic, but did you know you can go further? For example, if you want to literally dig into every millisecond of a request to your server, you can create a silent curl request to a server like GitHub's API, and then print the DNS lookup time, connection, transfer, start and end, all the way to the code. When there's a networking issue, this one is a live server and it's right there at the tip of your fingers. Not impressed? Check this out. Remember the download flags? Here's a large file to download. Notice the received megabytes. Now, if I stop midway and I try to download again, it'll just restart. At this point, many users would turn to other options. But resuming a download is as simple as adding -c and a separating hyphen. That's it. There's curl downloading resumed. This time around, it took less than a second, a total of 65 megabytes, reaching 100% of our 1 gigabyte file. By the way, downloading isn't limited to one file. You can fire one command to download as many as you like. Just add another -o in the file and let it run. Here are 2 files downloaded simultaneously. What if there are a bunch of them and they're serialized in some way? Well, globbing works too. Let's get all the SVG icons ending with incrementing digits from 1 to 10 and make them download in parallel with a dedicated flag. All done. I'll suggest something most people will laugh at, but still, check your curl version. On some machines, the release date can be years back, just because of when the system was last updated or the package repo they're using. Check the long list of supported protocols that come with the version to be sure you've got all the good stuff. Since curl can get so many things, lots of APIs around the world are prepared to serve lots of useful information that you wouldn't otherwise get in clear text. For example, to know what your IP looks like to a remote server, curl ifconfig.me. I was also surprised to find AWS serving a similar endpoint for the public at checkip.amazonaws.com. That's useful, but it is doable from a browser. You know what isn't? Figuring out where a shortened URL takes you. If you grab any shortened URL and get the headers with curl, and also make sure to print the location, now grab or grep the location, and there you have it. Full URL. I'll even shorten my own course page by using bit.ly for the sake of demonstration, which is interpreted and gets the full URL. The next time you're worried about a suspicious DM with an even more worrying URL, use curl. If you like getting information you wouldn't normally consider terminal related, WTTR is a great weather service for text-based endpoints. So here's the Copenhagen weather for the next few days. If you've paid attention, you probably spotted some quite strange protocols supported by cURL. So with that, here's another cool information to get from your terminal using a very old protocol. The dictionary protocol, which is used by dic.org, can get you dictionary definitions for everything really. Not only the protocol, but also the page is stuck in the 90s. Nevertheless, here's the short definition of a BMW. Remember I mentioned cURL can read emails? I'd show you a Gmail example, but Google made it so complicated you'd die of boredom, so let's grab a little POP3 serving backend. We'll speak to it using IMAP's protocol, authenticate with a user and a password, and send the examine inbox request. The service responds with a login and a successful connection to an empty inbox. That's pretty neat. If you're questioning the necessity of it, just imagine building your own email wrapper and a simple automation. You don't need a bunch of libraries and bloated dependencies. If you want it, it's right there, on your machine, ready to go. The same goes for Telnet, connecting to remote servers, resolving the name in the process too. But the next one is even more surprising. MQTT, you know, the famous pub/sub protocol everybody's using? It's the MQ in RabbitMQ, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs. Anyway, cURL speaks MQTT as well. On top, we have a publisher, using the Open Mosquito service for testing MQ, using a demo/hello channel. We'll use another session to curl some text data, using MQTT protocol of course, to the channel, and there it is. But wait, I'm not done. What if we need to proxy requests through, well, a proxy server? Check this out. Man in the middle proxy to monitor traffic, and on the other session we curl X. This can also be set as _proxy, then localhost at 8080 and then -k, which is a short for insecure request to avoid SSL termination, and there's the request, proxied through our local machine. You probably think that's it, right? No more options. Check this one. Familiar with HJ Proxy, one of the most famous performant proxies ever built? Well, yeah, cURL can send a proxy header too. On top, I use Netcat to listen on port 8080 for incoming requests. Then below, I'll use the HJ Proxy option that shows above as a proxied request as part of the headers. Load balancers and reverse proxies expect such a header for proper routing. One last thing that I think is amazing that cURL added and used to be an incredible pain. Back then, when AWS started, the API wasn't too complicated to authenticate with. But today, unless using a dedicated SDK or the AWS CLI itself, with auth, Amazon authentication is pure pain, not with modern cURL. Adding the AWS SIG-v4 flag switches on the AWS auth feature, allowing for an easy access key pair for user authentication, and there we are, raw XML. How nice. Okay, that's enough about cURL. I mean, there's a lot more where these came from, but I want to spend a couple of minutes discussing some of the elephants in the room. There are really good cURL alternatives. And I say it like that because while they'll never be able to achieve what I've just done here with simple native cURL, they simplify the basics so well, it's a crime not to show them. Xage is a Rust-based, friendly and fast tool for sending HTTP requests. Emphasize on friendly. We've seen that cURL made progress in the UX area, but check this. The long line was the cURL post request sent to Bun earlier, which we then piped to JQ for clarity. A simple Xage request is basically this. Not different if you're getting something, but still headers by default, lovely color coding for both metadata and the data itself. If you post, however, just Xage post, send the data however you like. You can pipe STD out to it if it works. Here's an even more elegant option. Put request with the data that's just following the request. No special characters, no more forgetting quotes or parentheses, just pure numbers or text, and it works. Text with equal, int with colon equal, and you're golden. Now Xage comes with a cURL flag that allows you to see what cURL command would look like should you choose that. The headers, data notation, etc. With all the love to cURL, there's no overlooking this kind of simplicity. The other elephant in the room is my choice of a shell, NuShell, which comes with HTTP utility of its own, resembling Xage in a way. You HTTP get something, but since it comes back ready for NuShell data manipulation, we can pipe it to get and a key of the return data, and there's the answer already extracted. This is a simple use case. Think of 200-line JSON and the ability to query that like so. Game changer. Posting is kind of similar. Headers are already there. Just push your data, but get the response the NuShell way, as a table structured data ready to work with, which you can then dig into further and play. This is not a NuShell video. I have them on my channel. Go ahead and check them out. Mastering curl is one block of using the terminal like a pro. If you want to maximize your workflow, squeezing every drop from its capabilities, watch this video next covering a full setup with everything you need to know about the terminal that I perfected over a decade. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.